Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Evil Dead Rise. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's absolutely fine to watch this review. There's not going to be any spoilers in it. I will be talking about things that we saw in the trailer, but other than that, it's completely spoiler-free. With the Evil Dead movies, the storylines aren't that complicated, and it's the same with this one. It's a simple story with a neat little wraparound. I can't really discuss the wraparound story because there's going to be some spoilers in that, but just know there's a neat little wraparound story with a simple story within the middle of it. As you can tell from the trailer, there is a family involved in the apartment building, and it's a dysfunctional family. The good thing about the story is it doesn't get too deep into how dysfunctional the family is or why. They do explain a couple of things, but they kind of brush it off, not as nothing, but they brush it off to the audience because we've got 90 minutes here, and it's 90 minutes of pure evil, of pure horror. We don't really get into too much of the backstory, and that is a good thing. It doesn't really take away anything from the characters. It focuses more on the horror aspect than the family dynamic. If we look at the effects of all the Evil Dead movies, especially the first 3 movies in the franchise, it's mostly all practical. Apart from Army of Darkness, it was mostly CGI, or really bad CGI, and obviously Evil Dead from 2013 played with practical and CGI. It's the same with this one. There is CGI in the film, but it's not off-putting. The CGI looks pretty good, to be honest, but there is a lot of practical effects, and when they use the practical effects, it's absolutely astonishing. The practical effects were absolutely amazing in this one, and if there was CGI moments that I thought were practical, it just goes to show that the CGI was really good as well, because sometimes I couldn't tell which was CGI and which was practical. Obviously there was some stabbing scenes in the film that I knew were CGI, but the rest of it that was practical, it was fantastic. Because we're taking on this horror thrill ride, we kind of forget about the acting in the film, and the acting was actually really good. I wasn't expecting much in the acting department because I didn't know any of the actors in the movie, so I wasn't invested in how well I think they were going to do because I had nothing to judge them by. If you've seen them in anything, let me know if they're actually really good. But in this one, they were really good. All the horror aside, the acting was really good as well. Even with the great trailers that we got for Evil Dead Rise, the trailers got me hyped up for the film, but even with the trailers, I didn't expect the movie to look big budget. I expected it to look kind of cheap, almost like a straight to VOD film that looked so good that they had to release it into cinemas, but that's not the case. This film looked like a big budget Evil Dead film. Probably it looked like it had the biggest budget of all. That might not be the case. I don't even know what the budget was. I can't imagine it to be a massive budget, but with the budget that they had, this film looked epic. It looked massive, it looked big in horror, and I think most of the money that they spent obviously went to the practical effects, but however they spent the film, or however they spent the money on the film, it was great. Now I did say in my title that this has a genuine Oscar nomination nod to it, and I leave those kind of titles just to see who watches my video and who doesn't. When I see comments, most of the time I can tell if someone's watched my video or if someone hasn't watched my video, because I know that some people are going to say, this isn't a great movie, it won't have an Oscar nomination for being the best film. That's not what I'm saying it's going to be. Now, watching this film from start to finish, the sound on this movie was epic. The sound in this movie was fantastic. I haven't watched the movie and been so immersed in the sound since I saw Top Gun Maverick last year, and strangely enough, Top Gun Maverick won Best Sound for the 2023 Oscars. But this movie just took me so much into it because of the sound. It was so creepy, scary, unnerving, unbelievable. The sound was incredible. I did see it on the super screen, so that helped, but the sound was just absolutely phenomenal. So if this movie doesn't get an Oscar nomination at least for Best Sound, then I know that at the Academy Awards, I know that the Oscars has to be against horror movies, because the sound in this film was Oscar level. The film didn't dive too much into the Book of the Dead as much as the previous movies, but there are times that it does delve into that, but I can't really mention that in this review because it is spoilerific. I will talk about the Book of the Dead and what they do with that more in my spoiler review, because if I do talk about it here, it would spoil a few things, because there is one thing that it sounds pretty cool that I will talk about in the spoiler review. But just know that they do talk about the book in the movie, they do use the book in the movie, but not to an extent that I would have expected them to. Overall guys, I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. It was bold, it was slick, it was brutal, it was gruesome, it was everything that I wanted it to be in an Evil Dead film, and probably more than I was expecting as well. It was 90 minutes of pure adrenaline horror. That's the best way I can explain it, guys. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. It is a horror movie fan's wet dream. Before I go guys, if you want to talk about spoilers in this movie, wait till I post up my spoiler review, which will be in less than 24 hours time. If you want to discuss that, then by all means discuss the spoilers in that video. But if you want to just lightly discuss the film, whether you liked it or not, then leave the comments down below and we can discuss that anyway. As always, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back!